The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everyone to today's webinar titled Analyzer 1.0 Identifying Content Reuse. My name is Brian Tipper. I'm the CEO here at Stilo, and I'm sitting alongside TJ Dhaliwal, our technical sales product specialist and your presenter for today. Also on our panel is Helen St. Denis, our conversion services manager. So I'll go over some quick housekeeping rules. So this is going to be a short 30-minute webinar where we demonstrate Analyzer 1.0. And Analyzer is our brand new cloud-based software tool that allows users to identify content reuse in various source formats such as Word, FrameMaker, and HTML. And the quick housekeeping rules is to start off, everyone is going to be muted throughout the duration of the webinar. If you have a technical question, please submit it via the Q&A panel. And please note that we're going to answer all questions at the end of the webinar. Next, Helen will be monitoring and handling all technical issues and general questions via the chat module. You can communicate with her directly by messaging the user named Stilo International. And finally, this webinar will be recorded. A link to the recording will be emailed to everyone that registered approximately 1 hour after the webinar concludes. So without further ado, I'd like to hand the mic over to your presenter, TJ Dhaliwal.
Thanks, Brian. Hello, and thank you to everyone for taking the time out of your schedules to join us. My name is TJ, and I will be your presenter today. So Stilo has developed a free tool to help us identify content reuse from source formats. It's a web-based cloud application which we can access from our comfort of our browsers. And everyone from information architects, content specialists, management, technical writers, Analyzer helps the whole team communicate the benefits of moving to a structured standard. Communicating cost savings of switching to the standard can be difficult, especially when we have to plan tests, conversions, and extrapolate cost savings onto other documentation. These can be expensive and timely with a lot of speculation, especially when there are exactly product lines to prioritize for conversion. And Analyzer helps us by automatically calculating the potential benefits of this transition without having to guess or go through timely test conversions. So we have 3 pages in Analyzer. We can get information and reports from different angles. And currently we're on the summary page. We'll go through the other 2 and see how different levels of reporting provide beneficial for our team. And for example, here I've uploaded Stilo's OmniMark programming language into our portal, and its documentation, which some code is actually working on in the background on Analyzer. And we're able to find out exactly how much similarity was in our documentation and ultimately how much our company could save by moving this to structured standard. So I uploaded the Word documents to the cloud. Analyzer used its proprietary distance algorithm to calculate the potential reuse in our documentation, and we're given information on the collection. I was able to get all my content onto the platform to compare, so there was no guessing involved. So as you can see here, Analyzer has calculated about 32% for a potential content reduction using its algorithm, and we'll be able to dive deeper into what that means, the similar content and the exact replicas throughout our documentation. We also have some information on the collection, like we have 40 documents uploaded here, about 1 megabytes worth of files, and the character count, and of course the estimated cost savings. So when analyzing our collection and our documents, we're presented with the information on the different elements like paragraphs, tables, spans, and images. Paragraphs and spans are important in 1.0. Tables and images are to be handled in another release, but nevertheless, we have some important information here. So we have a total count of the amount of paragraph elements in this whole collection, the amount of unique paragraphs, which in this collection has to be around 2,500, the amount of similar items, and the amount of exact matches. And same thing for the spans. This chart is also greatly represented in these charts, right, in these graphical representations right here, which we can actually switch through. We support about 4 or 5 different ones. I don't know who really selects radial, but I'll stick with the donut. We have a graph to show tables and images, but these are going to be handled in a future release. This brings us to the savings calculator. So Stilo has developed a cost savings calculator for us and our team to keep track of expenses and savings from the calculated reuse in one spot. So the default entries are from typical previous clients Stilo has dealt with, which are transitioning to a structured content standard, usually DITA, and all entries are customizable from name, cost, the weight of the effectiveness on the budget, and updated total savings. We can even add or remove entries as our department sees fit, helping teams collaborate. So let's go ahead and do that. We have just these default entries as mentioned, and we can change these to, let's say, from reviewing to reviewing just from team one. And that team, let's say the yearly expenditure on salaries is about 700,000 instead of 1.5 million. And let's say it's the reuse is a little more effective at saving us money than we thought. And so we can update this weight to about 30% instead of 25. And we can see the savings here update respectfully as we change the items in the table. And again, the total savings here changed and at the top. And we can do this with every entry. We can even, again, as mentioned, remove entries. So let's say publishing really has no use for our case, so we can just delete this row. But we also decide that maybe we want to add publishing by another team, by a contractor or something. So we can type in publishing contract 1, and this task cost, let's say it costs about 70,000. And the weight, so again, the weight of the effectiveness on the budget. So the reuse potential is giving us the standard for if we were to use all our content perfectly and exactly, how much could we save in this task? And then we can just normalize it using this weight factor. So let's say this weight factor has an effectiveness about only 5%. We hit enter, and we'll get an updated savings here, about $1,000. And again, the total savings, all updates. And we're able to keep track of our project expenses as we go based on our reuse. Along with that, on our summary page, we have a panel for recent activity, helping us show who's collaborating on what, keeping teams updated and on track. And every page in Analyzer is exportable by PDF or PNG, so we can efficiently include the data in our reports from just a couple clicks. So just to make this a little more presentable, maybe we want to have different graphs here. Once we're satisfied with that, we'll just export to here. Using this drop-down, let's say PNG. Have a second for our Explorer to come up and ask us for where do we want to save this. Yeah, desktop's fine. Just a couple clicks and here we have it. Yeah, so our export, you can crop this or include it in your presentations as you see fit. And all reporting pages on Analyzer, all three are exportable like this, you'll see with as we go on. So this brings us to our next function in Analyzer, which is the sequence browser. Select it here on the left. So the sequence browser helps us crawl through our content interactively, helping us jump through interesting matches. So we're really able to get it on a granular level here and get into the nitty-gritty of our documentation and where we can find exact matches. So when we first get onto this page, we'll notice two panes. The first one here is the sequence viewer. The second one is the sequence match viewer on the right here. They both show two different documents in our collection. And on the left here, we have the document where we want to find matches of content against. And on the right one, the sequence match viewer, we find the document where the matches are found against our sequence viewer document. So we're able to change the one we're interested in finding matches against using this dropdown. Just by default, I'll have the first one selected. And we can see here that there is a paragraph element highlighted with a box and a bubble. So what a sequence actually is, it's a consecutive paragraph elements in series that are found to have matches in other places in our collection and documents. So again, here we can see on the first pane in the active desktop compiler file, we have a paragraph element called listed installing and configuring OmniMark on Windows. And on the right-hand side, we have a match in the file concurrent processing engine.docx. So we know this is just a heading of some content. So we'll go ahead and select the next paragraph element in series, increasing the length of our sequence to 2 now. And we can see on the right-hand pane that the content has also been selected in the orange box, showing us that this is identical content in this other file. So we're able to see all the other places where this match on the left is found in this collection in the sequence matches pane right under it. So you'll see right here in this list of file names, what it is actually the locations where the sequence that we're interested in, which is the one that's selected, is actually found in. So for the first item, we have concurrent processing engine, which is shown already. And if we just parse through, we can see the different files where the same content is identical. And this is actually a heading with some paragraph content, and we can see the next heading is different. So this could be actually be used and extracted as a whole topic, useful to know when planning our reuse strategy. And again, if we highlight the document name and where we're comparing against, we can see the left side stays the same and the right side will change appropriately. Okay, so let's have a look at the content right after. We can see these are two different headings in these files. One is on the left, include files and modules on Windows, which is next in line in our sequence. And on the right, we have external function libraries on Windows. So if we go ahead and actually select this heading along with its content, we'll notice that in our sequence matches pane, we are left with one match and the one file on our right called batch compiler omni. And this is because the sequence we were matching earlier was part of this sequence, but not matching the entire thing. So it contained a nested sequence. And if we investigate further, we can see that's true. Before, it's not matching because this is OmniMark desktop compiler, and on the right we have OmniMark batch compiler. And if we further investigate the content after, we can also see this is different. Licensing OmniMark desktop compiler on Unix and Omni batch compiler on Unix on the right. So we're able to select different sequences that we're interested in and see where else they match. But what if we're interested in finding different sequences, not just the matches that it matches with? We can do that in two different ways. One is this navigation arrows at the top here. So this 1 out of 47 is actually showing us 1 out of 47 sequences in this document. And right now we're on the first one. You can see at the beginning of this document, desktop compiler document. And if we click next, we can see another sequence selected. Now, as I mentioned before, this sequence is part of the greater sequence, but it is found in different locations. So we'll see how what that means. So this is the heading again, include files and modules on Windows. And if we select just its content, we can see now this matches in 3 places versus the one when the entire series is selected. So we can examine nested content as well, and this can provide useful when there's topics in series that we can just fully extract. The larger bodies of content to reuse is obviously more optimal when planning our strategy. We can explore similar matches as well. So let's head over to this batch compiler Omni file, and we'll see again we have the list of sequence matches where it matches on the right, but we also have this pane called most popular sequences on the bottom left. And what this does is it organizes the sequences by length of paragraph items. So if we have 17 paragraph items in consecutive order which matches somewhere else given the popularity column, we can actually focus in on it and jump to it. This popular sequences pane helps us focus in on, again, the content that's in larger chunks and that we'll be interested in reusing. So this has jumped to, again, starting paragraph 36, length of 17 paragraphs, and its popularity 1, meaning it matches in one other file, which is active desktop compiler. So let's go ahead and select this whole sequence. So now that it's selected, and respectively on the right as well, where it's matching, we can notice a small difference. In the sequence matches pane, we can see that the matching is only at 98%. And this is due to the threshold Analyzer has for similar items. This can be tailored to your content, but by default, we have it at about 5%. So out of all the content that is being compared and matched, if 5% of it is different, but within the threshold, it will be counted as such, is counted as similar. So let's have a look at what's actually different in these two matches if it's not 100% the same. And again, we can see it's the difference between the product name. So if you can just see where my arrow is kind of wiggling here, it has the product name OmniMark Batch Compiler on the left, whereas on the right, we have OmniMark Desktop Compiler. Now, these characters are enough out of the whole sequence to fall in our similarity range, which is why we have the 98% there. And this can be helpful in if we want to plan our strategy around using key refs or conditionals. We can really use this to strategize against the specifics of our content. And along with the most popular sequences, sequence matches pane at the bottom, we have this document at a glance, which just helps us quickly get a visual representation of the matching in this document against the rest of our collection. You can see this document has about 78 reuse percentage, large topics and bodies of content that are seen in other places as well. And again, this is changeable to our preference. And also, as mentioned, we can export at the top to PNG or PDF as we see fit. And so the sequence browser really helps us, those of us on the team concerned with the details of the content reuse, and it helps us investigate our documentation with more granularity. So moving on, the third reporting tool Analyzer has is the document report. And the document report allows us to see the reuse potential on a by document basis instead of a by collection basis when compared to the summary page. And we're given data on the matching and similarities of spans and paragraphs, as well as a list of top paragraphs and spans and which files they're repeated in. So by default, we land on this document, which has about 10% reuse, and we can just parse through this list and find a document that's more interesting. So in the collection, we have a few that don't have any reuse at all, but let's head over to, for example, the 78% on concurrent processing engines. So I click it, and we can see in the blue that it's selected right now. And again, as like the summary page, we're given information on the different elements like paragraphs, tables, images, and spans. This time focusing on 1.0, focusing on paragraphs and paragraphs and spans, forgive me. And but this time it's on a by document basis. And so right under it, we have this chart, top paragraphs and spans, and it lets us go through the content based on popularity, and we can see that sometimes this helps us eliminate reuse that probably we won't even be concerned with. For example, this first item is a numbered list item, and so is the second. But if we go to the third item, we can see that it's a paragraph, which appears in 10 different locations. We're given the duplication count in this chart. and the exact locations where this matches. So this matches again in the different files listed here, and we can further use this page to jump back into the sequence browser to investigate pieces of content further without having to actually parse through all our documentation. You can imagine how much time this saves if we have hundreds of documents with you can say hundreds of pages and just thousands of pages to go through and to really filter out the content that is meaningful to us is Analyzer's forte. So again, yeah, as we move on through this list, we can see different pieces of content that could be of interest. And again, we'll come across larger chunks which we're interested in. This specific piece of content is duplicated in 5 different places, and these are the lists of documents. And last but not least, we have a graph showing the visual representation of the data above, the paragraph spans and similarities of those elements, also customizable. The graphs are actually customizable by color as well. So let's say your business has a specific color palette and you want to match it to make your presentation look professional. If we go to the hamburger menu at the top right and click settings, we can actually select our chart type that we find favorable just by default. I like to think of it as a list of desserts, donuts, pies, chocolate bars. I like donuts, as I mentioned. So just gonna keep it at that. But again, yeah, we have our color scheme. We have completely customizable by RGB, so you can get really the specific tone to match your presentations and report your data findings. We'll just make this more visible to, let's say, people with even, let's say, color blindness or issues, but for taste as well. We have a language option here. We can switch between French and English. English is default. We'll just confirm our changes and we'll see the chart update. And really, if after going through the sequence browser and document report and finding that, let's say the reuse is more effective than we initially imagined, we can go back to the summary page and let's say increase the effectiveness of, let's say, our support to 30% of the reuse factor instead of 20. We'll see the savings again, update to 14,000 instead of 9,000. Our total savings is now 299K, and that's a good update. And so this interactive reporting platform allows us to discover the reuse that matters to maximize cost savings, all while effectively sharing our results using the graphical displays and exports. A dynamic tool, good for the whole team. So thank you, and contact Stilo now for your free use analysis. I'll hand it back to Brian for a few words before we move on to questions.
Okay, excellent. Thank you very much, TJ. Great presentation. So while TJ is reading through the questions, I'd like to inform everyone that we'll be attending Convex 2022 in Tempe, Arizona. So we plan to have a couple of presentations there. One of them, hopefully a test kitchen regarding reuse, and TJ will probably be running that as well. And we hope to have another presentation regarding content conversions. So please stay tuned for more information about that. And once everything's confirmed, we'll be sending out a mass email with that information. I'd also like to mention that we're already processing reuse analysis requests on customer data, and we're starting to deliver free analyzer portals. So if you'd like to get your hands on your own interactive portal, please start by filling out the short form on our website, which should only take a minute. You simply go to the Analyzer homepage and click on Free Analysis Offer, or you can visit stilo.com/analyzer. At this point, I hope TJ's had enough time to read through the questions, so I'll pass the mic back to him.
Yep, thanks, Brian. So I have one here that says, what source formats were supported? Could you please mention that again? Yeah, so we support DocX, FrameMaker, HTML, and for this demo, we had Our source format, docx, our OmniMark documentation was Word. Let's see here. How long does it take to compare the 40 documents I uploaded? So the 40 documents I uploaded took about 10 to 15 minutes, and fairly quick compared to who knows the amount of time it would take to manually go through all of that. Are there different levels of supported users for the different team members? Yes. So we have to keep version control for our teams, we're able to issue different levels of permissions for users. For example, a read-only level, so the calculator with important information, let's say, doesn't get changed, but can be inspected and reported. Let's see. Yeah, that's all the questions I have for now. If you have any other or even just any remarks, please feel free to follow up with us at our email, contact@stilo.com, and definitely check out our site. Oh, another one just came in here. So how much does this cost? Is there a free trial period or subscription? No, there is no subscription. It's a completely free tool. And so yeah, please check it out. That seems to be it.
Okay. Thanks, TJ. That concludes our webinar. So we'd like to thank everyone for attending, and we hope to speak with you all soon. Goodbye for now.